Dr. Gerstenbluth, it's been a long day, and we're still at halftime yet. But yesterday, you confirmed a fourth case here in Curacao. And the people have been asking, what about when he traveled back to Curacao, because he was infected in the Netherlands. What about when he traveled back to Curacao? What about the people he came in contact with? Are you aware of all those people? Are you doing any tests with those people?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I understand there's worries. People are asking these questions. So yeah, we need to address them as well as we can. So thanks for the question. As far as we know, the person came back and had contact with somebody in the Netherlands in the beginning of March, where later on it turned out that that person was infected with COVID 2019. When he came back, the person in question had no symptoms. After a couple of days, he developed these symptoms and then contacted us. So it's not so that he traveled in an airplane while he had symptoms. These started a few days later. So there's one barrier for you. Then, of course, when we get to know this, you're, of course, a high-risk contact because you had contact with somebody whom is known that has been infected with COVID, SARS-CoV virus, coronavirus 2, which has the disease, which makes you a high-risk contact. And if you develop symptoms yourself, then of course we keep you isolated at home, we test you, and in his case, first test came out inconclusive. We treated him as if being positive anyway, better be safe than sorry, and the plan was to retest him, which we did, and the retest came out positive as we more or less could have expected. So that means also that you probably got him at the begin stages of the disease. That's why the first test was inconclusive. It wasn't completely positive yet, but 2 days afterwards it turned and you made a conversion and it became positive. So one explanation for that is that you were a little bit too early in the disease to be able to detect or to be able to make enough concentration of virus to be able for us to detect it in the test. 2 days later it was positive. That means that you're in the upscale on the incline of the graph of the disease when it started. I'm not explaining myself very clear, but I hope it is clear. So you're at the onset of disease, that's the point. So what do you do then? You keep the patient isolated at home, of course, because now you know for sure, well, you were keeping him isolated anyway, but now you have proof that he is positive. So whilst being positive and having symptoms, he needs to remain in isolation where he is, unless his circumstances deteriorate and you deem it necessary to get him hospitalized, then he would need to be transported to the hospital and treated there with appropriate treatment if necessary. But you also go through the list of all possible contacts from slightly before he himself got ill. So you're looking at anybody he possibly did contact, not just from the start from the symptoms, but you try to go a day to 2 days before that. And you scrutinize all of these numbers, you go through it with him again and again, and then you contact all of these, and they become, in their turn, they become high-risk contacts. They are contacted by us daily, sometimes twice daily. They are asked to control their temperature, to check their temperature, measuring it adequately. They are asked whether they have any symptoms of being either having fever or having cough or having problems breathing and the like. So these are the symptoms that are mostly associated with coronavirus. And once they do start presenting with symptoms, the same thing goes on again. Then they can remain isolated, and we come and we test, and then we take it from there.
Doctor, just your professional opinion. When will we see an end to this? I mean, what should happen for us to see an end to this? Because, I mean, we have influenza, which still kills people, and now we have another virus. You know, it's what needs to happen for us to see an end to this?
Now, there's no clear answer on that, because now we're talking about a coronavirus. Remember, we've had coronaviruses for a long time. The common cold is caused by coronavirus. There are different coronaviruses, a whole bunch of series of coronaviruses. In 2002 or 2003, I'm not sure of the year anymore, but it was one of those. It was a coronavirus of a different type that caused SARS, which was severe acute respiratory syndrome. That was also coronavirus, but it was different from the one that causes common cold. And that gave more severe disease. SARS, we managed to control it. We, not me, but the world community as such. Then in 2012, you had the Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome, MERS, which was also a coronavirus, but again different from the SARS. Now, as we speak, and from December on to beginning of January, where China announced that there is a new virus that's causing this problem. Again, it was a coronavirus. It looks like the one that also caused SARS, but it is different. That's why it's called SARS coronavirus number 2, because number 1 was the one in 2002, 2003. So what I'm trying to describe, not unlike influenza, is that new types will keep emerging. And if they have a chance to go from wherever it is that their domain is, to make the step and come across to the human field, once they have an effective way how to be transmitted, it again, every time a new virus appears and has found a format of effectively becoming transmitted from one person to the other, they form a new threat to us because there is no immunity yet. So it's the first time we get confronted with a new virus, and then most of us don't have antibodies against this specific virus, and that's when you run into risk that lots of people can get sick. And depending on the virus, it depends on the virility of the virus, it depends on the defense capabilities of the person in question, how strong the reaction will be, how much the impact will be of the virus on the health of the person and the nation. Some viruses are, like I just said, most coronaviruses that we know, they cause the common cold. We don't worry about the common cold anymore. But some of them can be worse than that. And we're experiencing one of those now, but we already had that with SARS and MERS. And yes, you mentioned influenza. That's a very good example to understand what's happening. If there's a new type of influenza that develops, that becomes easily transmissible from person to person, where there is no immunity for that new type, we also get into the same trouble. You've seen that with what we called swine flu or the Mexican flu, whatever it was called. Both names aren't correct, but that doesn't matter. But yes, in the beginning we also thought, hey, this is going wrong. And then after a few weeks it turned out, oh, calm down, it isn't as bad as we thought. But again, the adagium is better be safe than sorry, and so you need to take measures. So if your question in general, when does this finish, that new viruses appear and cause this type of thing, there is no end, there is no answer to that question. This can go on and will probably happen more often. And why am I saying that? Because as the population increases in the world and as agglomerations of persons are becoming bigger, and the distance between, for example, animal colonies becomes closer to where people are living, then the opportunity for viruses that are maybe in the domain of animals, it's easier for them to make that jump to come over to humans. So the closer we get, the more inhabited we get, the more the population grows, the more opportunities there are for viruses to appear that hitherto have not been detected and that have a chance of becoming easily transmissible between humans. So I don't have a clear answer to your question. I don't think there's a clear date of ending. I don't think it will end in the short term. You will keep on getting this type of stuff. And you see it every so often, every couple of years. There's a new one coming up that forms a bigger or smaller threat to humanity. So this one spreads pretty rapidly all over the world. Thank God that wasn't the case with MERS, thank God it wasn't the case with SARS. But yes, this can happen.
Thank you, Doctor.
All right.